I'm in Old Town Folsom outside the Powerhouse Pub. On weekends, people pack this place to see tribute bands and cover bands, but on Wednesdays, it's locals only, in big part to my guest tonight, Mr. Andy Hawk. Welcome to night number 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Rock and roll horror show. Rock and roll horror show. Rock and roll horror show. Whoa, oh, oh. Rock and roll horror show. Rock and roll horror show. Rock and roll horror show. Whoa, oh, oh. I wanna believe in things I can't see. Explore the unknown and try to sing in key.
You once had the best of both worlds. Now you have the best of none. You're doomed to repeat history. You're settling, it's obvious to everyone. So say it's not a dream come true. That it's just a comfortable old shoe. Is this a soft old mattress to fall back on to? Say it's not a dream come true. There's a sadness in your smile. Two separate rooms for the holidays. If you wanna change your life, that one first step is all that it takes. So say it's not a dream come true. That it's just a comfortable old shoe. It's just a soft old mattress to fall back on to. Say it's not a dream come true. Don't do it! Say it's not a dream come true. That it's just a comfortable old shoe. It's just a soft old mattress to fall back on to. Say it's not a dream come true. So say it's not a dream come true. Try to say it's not a dream come true. Say it's not a dream 'cause I know it's not a dream. Say it's not a dream come true.
And here we are for our first main event of the series, the one and only Mr. Andy Hawk. How are you, Andy?
Do I have no credibility that I'm drinking a Blue Moon? Like,
Well, why not? Why not? I can go to the I can make my way to the fridge and grab a Hams. I think I bought a 36 pack of that for for Halloween. But I just want to let you know, I wanted to make sure to wear the best shirt I could just for you. So this is the there were only 2 times I made these, I think.
yeah.
And it was because
Yep.
because every year I always think of you because every year that I made the shirts, you would always say, I would love to wear one of your shirts, but I can't wear the F cancer shirts at work. So can you make one that says cancer sucks? I can wear this. So I think there were only 2 years that I made, or no, there were 3 years that I made cancer suck shirts. And this was my favorite one, the Sex Pistols one. I did a Sex Pistols one.
And then, of course, then I had 2 daughters. And
Yeah.
they're getting older. And I
Exactly.
don't wear any bad words on anything.
The other day I was wearing a shirt that had the F word on it, and my neighbors from down the street come over, and he's got like this 3-4-year-old son, but he's like this 3 or 4-year-old son who's got like an IQ of 200, and he's got a more expansive vocabulary than any of us. So I'm standing there with my hand over my chest the whole time. I feel like I'm doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but I'm just covering my shirt up. So I get you. There were three years that I did Andy
Yeah.
Hawk approved, Andy Hawk work and father approved shirts. There was the
Right.
Sex Pistols one I'm wearing. I did a Ramones one, and I did a Black Flag one. So unfortunately, this year there's only one design, and it does say the F word on it. But maybe I'll make a special one that.
Hey, and I understand why you do it, and I mean I get it. You shouldn't have to censor it.
Yeah. No, but I totally get it. Every year since then when I've designed it, I'm like, Andy's gonna hate this. Andy's.
It's like I'll be walking down the hallway at work, and like my market manager will be like, "Hey, Andy, I want to introduce you to this. Oh, hey, have you met so and so?"
Andy, put this shawl on first. So. All right, well, let's just get into it. First, I want to thank you. You're kicking off the virtual series because most of the years that I've done the series, it started on a Wednesday night at Powerhouse Pub, and those are the shows that you always put on, the local lick shows.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. You've been in radio for so long. What got you into local music and helping promote local music through radio?
Well, I was into local music before. I mean, I was just a fan of radio. As a kid, I was 15, and I growing up here, I listened to Quad in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Quad started playing LGS on the radio. And Matt and Britt in LGS actually grew up 2 houses down the street from me. And my dad and their dad, best friends, right? Best friends.
Yeah.
We'd all go to they all had season tickets for the Kings games, right? Like the first season, like 1985 we're talking about. So I'm 6 years old, going to Kings games, hanging out with Matt and Britt's dad. Like I kind of was like friends with him first, as like he was that adult, and he would just mess with me so hard. Mm-hmm. So I just always kind of grew up with that family. And then when they got on the radio, I remember being 16, and my parents let me go see their show at the Crest Theater, and it was LGS, Filibuster, and Payo. And to this day, like I still love Filibuster. I still put that music on, like just randomly when I'm listening to stuff. And I still into it.
Yeah.
And I was just so starstruck. Like, and they were just normal dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like, the first time you meet a band, you have no idea people are normal.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea that they're just normal people with normal jobs when you're a kid, and you think, well, they have a record and it was produced in LA. They must be famous, right?
Yeah, they must, or they're on stage, so they must be rich. When did you? And I get that all. I used to get that all the time. Oh man, what do you mean you have a job? I'm like, I'm lucky if I'm going to get gas money after the show.
I'm hoping to make $27.
Exactly. When did you get?
So my radio career, kind of like when I graduated high school, went to Jesuit here in town, obviously.
Okay.
Went to San Diego State. Worked in radio there a little bit, just enough to get my feet wet. I got my first real job in Phoenix, Arizona in the year 2000.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I was on like late at night, and I don't even know why they asked me to do a local show or segment. It was just something like people were throwing around. And the first band I ended up interviewing and having on was this band called The Format, which Nate Ruiz of the band Fun was in The Format. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it was so ahead of its time. Like indie rock wasn't even necessarily a thing. And like we're talking the year 2000, rap rock was still big, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, these guys were so ahead of their time. And I really got into like listening to their music, and they turned me on to 20 other Phoenix bands. Mm-hmm. So I just started being, immersed in this culture of bands that hadn't broken yet. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved back here in 2004, it was just, I do local radio. Like, let's do a local show. And I mean, just from there, I mean, I've always been involved in it.
How
very long, boring answer. God.
No. That's awesome. Was it an uphill battle getting local music on shows like Punk Rock Academy and?
No, I think I was pretty fortunate to work with people who got it and shared enough of the same vision at the time. I mean, Punk Rock Academy, it's just crazy that we did what we did. Like radio is such a different, it's the, I'm lucky that I get to work for a company that gives me a lot of freedom
Mhm.
now. But I mean, just local shows and punk rock specialty shows, like the rating system is so different now that it's really harder to accomplish that now what we did then.
Well, one of the, I mean, and you and I, in the past, we share a love of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
There's a term in pro wrestling called giving a rub to another wrestler. Like, you know, Hulk Hogan would be wrestling someone who was lower on the card, and that would
Right.
elevate that other person. And I
Mhm.
always felt like one of the things that Punk Rock Academy did is it gave the rub to those local bands, because you would play Green Day, you would play Rancid, and then
Right.
you would play a local band
In
mixed
between,
in
right.
there, and and they would mesh in. I mean, you sometimes you'd notice quite a difference in the quality of the recordings. But it's like, why is it so quiet right now? Oh, it's because it's recorded on a boombox. But
Well, no, it was somebody told me at one time too. I can't remember what local singer it was, but he was like, "Dude, you played me in between the Ramones and Bad Religion. Literally,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite '80s band, my
Mhm.
favorite '90s punk rock band. We were
Yeah.
right between them. Like that was so cool."
Well, for us in the music scene, that was just so exciting because, you know, you just blended us right in there, and to the unsuspecting listener, it elevated these bands to this
Yeah.
level that they were hoping to achieve. So I thought that was one of my favorite things that you did in radio, is how you just kind of you snuck those local bands in there.
Absolutely.
Now, with doing the shows at Powerhouse Pub, how was that? You know, because they would give you a Wednesday night, and
Right.
that's kind of a tough sell.
Yeah. I think, Murray owned that place for a long time,
Mhm.
and he to his credit, he just believed that it was the right thing to do, even if it wasn't, the real cash cow that being, a nightclub is.
Yeah.
He knew that he had a stage, having bands still made the club cool,
Mhm.
even though, club life was where those places make their money, cover bands and,
Yeah.
the dance rock stuff for sure. But he did believe that like having bands was just the most important thing to keep. It was still a music venue.
Yeah.
And, to his credit, he let me do whatever I wanted.
Mhm.
And on Wednesday nights, and then he did blues on Sundays, and he really felt like Wednesday and Sunday was the glue.
Wow. Wow. And
Yeah.
considering that, like on weekends, they would have the tribute bands and cover bands, and just
And they still do
pack the
as
place.
soon as it turns back on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even. That place is so popular now. I mean,
Mhm.
it's $15 cover. People don't care who's playing, and
And it just gets
party,
packed. Yeah.
and it's 500 people packed, and it's kind of seen as the one. I mean, that patio is amazing, right? Like people
Yeah.
are just going there to socialize.
Yeah. Well-
And when it turns back on, I imagine, Murray's he sold the business to his girlfriend, but he's still kind of involved.
Yeah. Well, and that's always been the struggle for local bands. You know, you can get people to have no problem paying $15-20 to pack the place for a cover band, but then they'll complain when there's 3 local bands and you're charging $5 at the door. So, I mean,
Yeah.
do you have any advice on how we could I don't know, educate music fans that, hey, there's these bands that sound very similar to these bands. Basically, what you did with Punk Rock Academy. It's like, we've got these local bands that
You
you
can't
check out.
force people to do anything.
Yeah.
The best advice I can give any musician is listen to the words of Dave Wakeland of the English Beat of why ska started. Like, why did they were all rock musicians and they couldn't get the girls to dance. So they literally just made the music bouncy and it, added reggae to punk.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden women were like, wow, I like this. This is fun. I'll go out with you.
Yeah.
So it is just, you can't force any people to like things. You have to, it has to be real. And it's like bands evolved their sound to get women to love it just as much as the guys.
Well, and I think if it's whether it's women or men, whoever's feels the most comfortable to get out and dance first, that's going to make it easier. Okay, if
Right.
everyone else is dancing, I won't feel like a fool for going out there and dancing. So I can totally see this. Like get the bravest people to get up out on that dance floor. Then you started. You took over concerts in the park, and that's just. I mean, exploded in size and in the.
We had a good team of people, Danny.
Yeah,
I think you.
I remember there. I was there.
You were there in 2012.
Yeah, but
together.
But it how do you when I was with you at the beginning phases in the beginning stages of that phase of concerts in the park, I still remember one of my bragging points, very first band that played during our when I was part of that booking team was the Storytellers.
Right.
And that's a band that I've always believed in, and I'm like, so many people need to see this band. And I was so happy that they were the first band that played. But now as Concerts in the Park is getting bigger and bigger and you're pulling in these bigger names, is it a struggle to keep mixing in the local bands?
No, I don't think it's a struggle. I mean, is it harder for a local band to headline now? Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I had 12 Sacramento bands or regional bands that could accomplish, 7,000 people every week, then we would do it.
Yeah.
And that's harder to do. So, I mean, it's all local bands opening for national bands, unless there's some sort of an agent, it's like, you can have this band, but you have to put this band on the bill too. That would be the only time when the whole undercard wouldn't be locals.
Mm-hmm.
Is if it's and sometimes you got to negotiate with agents, and it's not very much fun. But we're also, I mean, as you know, not given a huge budget, so we're
no.
It's like if you're gonna give us a band for $3,000, it's worth 10. We'll play this other band on the bill too. But that is one less spot for a local band. And sometimes you have to make those deals, and it's not very much fun to do that.
Yeah.
But it happens. And the problem right now with young bands is you have so many young musicians who are just being DJs and not forming bands with 4 other guys or girls. And that's just where music is today. And it's a cycle that will end at some point here, but that's where we still are today.
Touch on my burning hand, I'll send my astro zombie back across the land. I'm direct.
Yeah. How do you think music is going to come out of the coronavirus?
I mean, everyone has been writing like crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you have tons of bands. I mean, recording has just stepped up another level, and so it's you have all these bands who are writing and recording. I think 21 is going to be a crazy year.
Yeah. In your opinion, do you think we'll see festivals again in 21, or do you think it is?
I mean, they're booked.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know about Concert in the Park, because what's gonna be hard with Concert in the Park this year
Yeah.
is we could get the green light on April 1st. Well, obviously, as you know, doing this, it
Yeah.
takes way longer than a month to put it together.
Oh
So,
God, yes. Yeah.
You know, we booked the whole lineup that was never unveiled.
Mm.
Right? Like, if you remember, like, we were going to announce April
Mhm.
1st.
Yeah.
That lineup was literally, I turned it in, COVID hit. So we had a whole lineup that is never played. You know, there's national bands on there, which obviously those agreements are no longer standing.
Yeah.
But we do still have, you know, if they say you can do 6 shows next summer, you know, we'll have 6 shows ready to go pretty fast. So we just, and it could be later. Like, Concert in the Park could be July and August next year. Like, it doesn't have to be where it's always been, because nothing is where it's always been.
Yeah.
Next year. So
how about those Wednesday shows at Powerhouse Pub? How do you think?
Yeah,
how do you think the smaller shows are going to be affected?
I think people are going to be pretty excited to go have a drink with their buddies and hear some live music, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
it sucks. It sucks that it took a pandemic.
I mean, bands are so itching to play, right?
Yeah. Well, it sucks that it took a pandemic that took the lives of a 250,000 people, or more than 250,000 people, for people to realize what they had and what a great scene we do have here in Sacramento.
Yeah, you figure worldwide, right? It'll be 2 million before it's all said and done.
Yeah, yeah. Now you've been. Were you also a DJ in Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's something about the Sacramento music scene that stands out to you in comparison to Southern California and Arizona and other places that you've been?
I mean, they're definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved back to Sacramento, it was interesting because living in San Diego and living in Phoenix, the scenes were very similar. But what I noticed the Northern California punk scene kind of fascinated me because it didn't have very much in common with San Francisco. I mean, with San Diego and Phoenix. Like, it definitely felt more like the Chicago and New York sounds were more, which is really surprising to me, because living in California my whole life, like, the first time I ever heard punk rock, you know, a bunch of kids were skating down the street listening to Bay Area punk bands.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of the Bay Area punk bands still sound closer to Southern California. So I don't know, for whatever reason, you know, the Sacramento scene, it really kind of etched its own feel. Yeah, yeah. Well, and that makes sense that we don't want to be considered the Bay Area. You know, we all have that attitude that we're.
It's kind of funny. You mentioned how, you know, the Sacramento scene kind of took on this new. I've got Ramones posters, Misfits posters, and I'm wearing a leather jacket. Like,
I mean, you're a perfect example. I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
so I'm going to interview you. Why didn't you gravitate towards AFI and Rancid and that? You know,
well, I think the
that's
Rancid,
what my friends were listening to. Like, they were listening to Operation Ivy.
Yeah,
and you know, for me, like, it was like NoFX was the other band I heard first, and then it was like when I heard Bad Religion, my mind was like,
yeah. To me, it was like when I was a kid, I got into like 50s doo-wop and the American Graffiti soundtrack, and then when I discovered the Ramones, I was like, oh, it's like the American Graffiti soundtrack on a lot of caffeine. And so that was like an easy transition for me to go from that 50s catchy G, E minor, C, D chord progression going right into the Ramones.
Right. No, that completely makes sense.
Yeah. So before I let you go, any message that you'd like to give the Sacramento music scene, whether it's the musicians, the fans, the promoters, the DJs?
You know, my wife told me I should prepare, and I said,
"That's okay." Well, no, that's okay.
I need to prepare for talking to Danny.
Well, I don't have any. All of these interviews are going to be 100% organic. I don't have any questions. You know, I'm not going to ask.
We've known each other for 17 years now. Is that weird?
That blows me away.
Right? Like, that was 2000 and
wow.
Yeah,
Oh my
16
God.
years. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
17 this year.
Well, so any message that you'd give the music scene? Because I mean, you could speak to so many different levels, everything from the DJs to the bands to the promoters to the fans who come out.
You know, I think it's with anything for musicians. It's like, if you're not having fun, don't do it. You know, and if you're having fun, that's going to be conveyed to an audience that is looking to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately that's the point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for. You know,
I think that's a great answer. I think that's a great answer because then, you know, if those musicians are having fun, the people are going to have fun, and
we're gonna have fun too.
And then the promoters are going to want to book those bands because they want to fill their venues with people having a good time.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird, right? Like, we don't even know what venues are going to be open. We don't know what venues are going to have budgets. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I told my boss, like, I don't think City of Trees in 21 is realistic because, you know, it's a big ask to have someone spend $50 on something, you know, and it's a lot of work putting together $1 million event, which is what it is. It costs
maybe
$1 million to do it.
Yeah, well, maybe people will rediscover the beauty of radio again.
Right, completely, and it actually, you know, people really have. It's been an interesting year because people have listened to the radio, and one of the things that, like, we really did well was not talk about politics or the pain and suffering that people are going through, and really use that escapism, feel good vibe of music. And we, from a rating standpoint, not that anyone cares, did great. You know what I mean? Like, it was a good year from that. It wasn't a good revenue year because everybody's revenue is down, right?
Yeah, but I think that speaks to people looking for that refuge that music does bring. And
which, by the way, I want you to check out. We have a new show that we're doing, and it's way more punk rock than I thought it would be. But it's called Emo Night. The guy that started Emo Night LA, he is doing the show, and it's out of LA. And I heard the show a couple months ago, and I thought it was amazing. And we put it on the air, and it's Sunday nights at 7 on Alt 94.7, and it's an hour. And it's way more punk rock than when I first heard the name. I was like, well, do people really want to listen to a whole hour of emo music in 2020?
Yeah.
And, you know, I've a couple of our friends that, you know, were, you know, music fans with you, and like Leif and Justin and guys like that. I was like, just listen to it and tell me what you think. And
okay, awesome. Well, like, I'll make sure to have all the information scrolling underneath us in this video. But
cool.
Well, I want to thank you. Thanks for your time, Andy. I really appreciate it. I knew if there was one person I was going to interview, you'd be the one who would understand Zoom, because if not you, your daughters would be able to hook that up for you.
No, that's why I feel so bad that my background it's literally just
that's okay. No,
but normally like I have like look at I have all the I have this cool stuff.
Oh wow, yeah, all the posters signed by her. No, this is the I'm in my guitar room, so I figure okay, I'll give it a go with the cool room in the house.
I got this one this year. This was cool. We were one of the first stations to play Tones and I, and obviously 1 billion streams later, one of the biggest records of the year. So yeah,
a billion streams. That equates to $1.75, right?
1 billion streams is good.
But as far as
about 1 billion.
Yeah, but as far as a payment stream, 1 billion streams like $1.75 for the artist, right?
I think when you get to 1 billion, it actually is a real check.
Oh, it is a real check.
Yeah, I think you make a couple $100,000 on that, man.
Oh, okay, yeah. I definitely don't see that on my CD Baby account.
You're not doing a billion streams.
No, I think I'm at about 0.04 of a cent on some of these.
just another light in the feel like I'm alive. If I regret it,